I welcome you to the Kenyan Daily Report, and today we look back to some of the people that have made an indelible mark in the Kenyan history. One man that once the DCI is mentioned his name and face never leaves the mind of many Kenyans is the name of the former Directorate of Criminal Investigations boss, George Kinoti. But the question that a lot of Kenyans are asking at these crucial times, when the government is under scope, and mostly the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, a branch of under the National Police Service that was led by one George Kinoti under the regime of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, has been questioned several times by Kenyans, as currently it's being led by one Amin Mohammed. But one question that Kenyans are asking, where is George Kinoti, the former DCI boss? Now, as the Kenyan Daily Report TV, we are here to give you an update on the whereabouts of the man that really transformed the Directorate of Criminal Investigation and where he is now and what he is doing to serve this great Republic of Kenya. His name is George Mainge Kinoti, tough and experienced Kenyan detective, security expert, crime buster, and the former director of criminal investigations in Kenya. He was appointed to serve in the position by President Uhuru Kenyatta on 5th January the year 2018 after the retirement of former director Ndegwa Mohoro. Before his appointment, he was the National Police spokesperson at the Office of the Inspector General of Police. Kinoti was born in the year 1967 at Northi Imenti constituency of Meru County. He grew up in the slums of Meru town under the care of his mother, raised by a single mom. He has 6 siblings and his father abandoned the family long ago when he was young. However, Kinoti met his father when he was 30 years and they reconciled. Kinoti, the DCI. After successfully completing his primary education, Kinoti joined St. Pius X Seminary in Koboi, Meru. During his days at the minor seminary, he had wanted to become a priest. When he finally did his O-level examination, he topped in his class, which secured him a position at one of the senior high schools in Kenya. He, however, rejected the opportunity and chose to join Kanyakine High School, which was not far from the seminary. At the high school, Kinoti showed an exemplary performance, and with a short period, he was appointed the school captain. Now, Kinoti went on to graduate from Egerton University in the year 1992, having undergone paramilitary training at the National Youth Service, which was mandatory for new students. He later pursued a master's degree in security management and graduated from Egerton University. Kinoti initially wanted to be a priest, as we said, but instead he ended up being the director of criminal investigation. His revolution and the turning point came when he was at the university and Gilgil NYS training camp. It was his many encounters with the police and the negative stories he had heard about policing that sparked in him a desire to join the National Police Service. He contemplated that perhaps he could make a difference and bring sanity to the police sector. Kinoti went ahead to join the police. And when Uhuru Kenyatta took over office, he appointed Kinoti as his DCI boss. But one thing happened. A lot of things and controversies followed Kinoti's head as the DCI boss. Some of which you can all not forget about the allegation of him leading the DCI in the stories that led to the Rivayala massacre, which has been mentioned several times by politicians currently, who are, and mostly quoting one of them, Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader of parliament. He said under Kenoti's regime, the DCI operated without, outside of the constitution and outside of the laws of Kenya, where they went ahead to abduct and kill thousands of people. Now back to the whereabouts of DCI Kinoti. Back in the year 2023, in January, President William Ruto took a step of trying to fight the former DCI boss. Now, speaking back in January 2023, IPOA chairperson, independent Independent Policing Oversight Authority chairperson Anne Makori stated that the Oversight Authority was ready to launch a public inquiry into the conduct of the former DCI boss, Kinoti. Kinoti was accused by President William Ruto then of harboring a container used to carry out the vice or the killings of a lot of Kenyans. According to IPOA, the public inquiry then would take 90 days before a final report was presented addressing the allegations leveled against Kinoti. Investigation into general crime is the work of DCI, and that is why DCI exists. IPOA will step in and carry out investigation, and if we can establish members of the service who are involved, then it becomes our responsibility, the chairperson Anne Makori stated. Now, explaining the scope of the investigations, Makori noted that the authority was ready to offer witness protection to individuals willing to offer the authority information on confidential terms. I mean, witnesses who were ready to testify against George Kinoti so that he could be persecuted or prosecuted for the crimes that he had committed under the regime of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as the DCI boss. Now, going forward, however, the IPOA chairperson lamented that IPOA was not financially done to carry out the investigations regarding extrajudicial killings recorded during Kenoti's reign. I quote her, "If we can have the funding that we are seeking, I believe within 90 days we should be able to carry out public inquiries, and obviously a lot of work will be in Nairobi and Mombasa." Now, IPOA's intended inquiry came on the heels of President Ruto's allegation where the head of state revealed that he fired Kinoti over secret executions under his regime, which, if we currently look at what is happening now under the current DCI boss, Amin Mohammed, we can all say the both DCI bosses have walked on the same shoes. But Kinoti was more famous and more pointed out by the people of the Republic of Kenya more than Amin has been pointed out. Mostly because Kinoti was so public in speaking against the deputy president, against everything that was happening in the country. Because now the deputy president then had formed the opposition of the government. And the president, through the police, had formed the government and was supporting a candidate that was vying for the presidency. That was Raila Amolo Odinga. So intimidation against William Ruto were ongoing day in, day out. Now, during a joint interview at State House in January 4th, 2023, the head of state further confirmed that he had gotten in touch with IPOA and agreed to probe the matter. Now, Ruto added 30 bodies in Yala, 17 in Garissa. There was a container here at Nairobi area where people were being slaughtered and in a police station. How did we end up there? What kind of rogue institution was that? And that is why I fired that Kinoti man, because it's not right. After exiting office, Public Service Commission PSC announced Kinoti was eligible for redeployment. Now let's get back to the year 2024 when Kinoti make an appearance. And don't you forget that in the year 2020, while Kinoti was serving as the DCI boss, he was the first Kenyan detective to be given an opportunity to join and train under the FBI Executive Academy. According to Egerton University, they said our proud alumnus, DCI George Kinoti, made a mark for himself, Egerton University, and for Kenya by being the first and only African candidate joining the FBI Executive Academy. His exemplary performance in governance and now is scaling up of geographic and socio-political walls in the service of this country makes us proud to have him as an alumni. Yes, the FBI Academy dedicated to being the world's premier law enforcement learning and research center and an advocate for law enforcement's best practices worldwide, is operated by the FBI's training division. It trains individuals chosen through a rigorous selection process to prospectively become special agents, intelligence analysts, professional staff, law enforcement officers, foreign partners, private sector. Yeah. Now that, imagine Kinoti received all that. So the government of Kenya, at no time could they let Kinoti go. When Kinoti finished his term as the DCI boss, or when he resigned under certain condition. And that is what we are going to look at right now, so that we see where Kinoti is serving right now and whether he is really in the government, and whether the current DCI boss, really gets some tips from the former DCI boss George Kinoti because of how he functions. Because most people can correlate what is really happening in this regime and the other regime when it comes to matters of policing. Now, the last time Kinoti was seen in public was in the year 2024. The former DCI boss George Kinoti and former Laikipia Governor Deritu Mureithi were among the guests at the launch of former head of public service Francis Mudhaura's book on November 2nd, 2020. On November 2nd, 2023. That was not in 2024. Now, the former DCI boss George Kinoti made his first public appearance since he left office. That was back in 2023. Kinoti, who has been keeping a low profile since he was redeployed to the Public Service Commission after President William Ruto took charge of the country, had attended the book launch of former head of state, Public Service Ambassador Francis Mudhaura. Now, Kenoti's exit as the Director of Criminal Investigation was announced by President William Ruto in September 2022 after he took over office. Ruto said he had received the resignation and that someone else would hold the position in an acting capacity. The commission will get someone to act in that position for now as we wait for the other processes to fill the position, Ruto said. Now, Kinoti was on the receiving end from Ruto and his team during the campaign period. He had served as the DCI boss for 4 years. At the time, the president also announced that Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai had proceeded on terminal leave. Mutyambai had 6 months left before retiring. In October of the same year, the National Police Service Commission approved the transfer of services for the former Director General Directorate of Criminal Investigation to the public service. What I'm telling you is that when Kinoti resigned from DCI, he did not resign for him to go home. He resigned to join the PSC, the Public Service Commission. Now, this was on condition that Kinoti would remain with remuneration and privileges personal to himself with effect from September 27, 2022 until attainment of mandatory retirement age. Kinoti had resigned as the DCI director but remained an officer in the National Police Service. Ruto later appointed the Director of Internal Affairs Unit, Mohammed Amin, as the Director of Criminal Investigation, replacing Kinoti. We all know that Bwana Amin is currently serving as the Director of Directorate of Criminal Investigation. But one thing you should know, There is a lot that the current regime seems to be exercising that was happening under Kinoti. So the question that we are asking, could Kinoti be the advisor to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation right now? And could Kinoti be working in secret with the president right now in dealing with matters of arising where mostly after the Gen Z demonstration? Because we saw a new squad formed, which Gashagwa had referred it as Goroko squad or Akila squad several times. But that squad had been rumored to be existing in Uhuru Kenyatta. So, could it be that Kinoti is currently working with President William Ruto? I really bet that 70%, because this man is still an officer under the National Police Service and he serves at the PSC, Public Service Commission, with benefit to himself as a retired DCI boss. That includes him having protection and him having access to intelligence. Remember, this is one of the most proficient DCI director that we have ever had in this country. Why am I saying this? Kinoti was the first African detective to be taken for training or to be absorbed by the DCI in the DCI Executive Training Academy in 2020. He went there, trained, acquired the skills, then came back to the country to run the DCI. So the skills that this man has are skills that the government, because the government used its resources to train this man, cannot allow them to go to waste. Let me tell you, for example, when you look at the generals in the Kenya Defense Forces, those generals have attained higher levels of education and higher levels of intelligence training from different countries worldwide. So those trainings are funded by the government of the Republic of Kenya. Those generals cannot be let go at the age of 30 or the age of 40 because they want to retire. The government must at least seek to appeal to tell them to keep on working or to even raise them to give them higher positions in the military so that they can continue serving the country because of the knowledge that they have. Yeah, that's what happens. So I tell you that Kinoti is currently serving the government of the Republic of Kenya. And the last time that he was seen in public was last year, 2024, when he attended the admission to the bar of Sun at Kenya, the Republic of Kenya. That's what's up. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel for more news, more update. Yeah, and this is the story update on where are they now. The story on air is that of one former DCI boss, George Kinoti.